35, take 1.
Slate 9, take 1.
Select 36, take 1.
Episode 7 I was really looking forward to shooting. I felt like it was my opportunity to really give Nicole something really gritty to kind of sink my teeth into. I like anything kind of action related, a little bit intense and emotional. And I knew that this episode would be my opportunity to do that. And I was really keen to work with Simon as well. And although he's very intimidating on screen, he's such a nice guy. And I just knew that we'd have fun on set. And we just kind of work well together. And I think it's important to be able to do that when you're doing quite intense scenes, just to kind of have that kind of banter and that when we're not actually filming, and then crack straight on and hopefully bring something intense to the screen.
Come on!
Gave me a chance to be sort of a nastier version of myself. But as Kate said, sort of, it would get emotional and it would get heated in the scene, obviously. But then as soon as cut was called, we'd be having a laugh and a joke, having a cuddle. I was getting worried that was upsetting her.
He was actually
she
giving me
was
a cuddle.
crying and I wasn't sure if that was fake or not. Didn't know if I had bad breath or whatever. So like after every cut, sort of, get the levels back. But as soon as action was called, we were straight back in it, on it.
Episode 7 is good because it's almost just, it's suggesting that, okay, lots is going to happen, and this is build. There was a great scene at the farmhouse where I get there and there's no one there, and I arrive with Simon Pengelly's character. There's again, things are building. I clearly don't want to be there. I don't agree with him, but we don't quite know why yet. Don't know what he's up to. Don't know what I'm up to. But I'm the good guy, obviously. Always. My character finds Katie she's kind of hiding behind this curtain, and he's almost, he's got a choice. Does he come clean to Simon's character and say she's here because that's who he's after, possibly, or does he just keep stum and try and hide it? And there's this great scene between the two of us, very tense, and she did her part without me and I did my part without her. So when I'm looking in there, I'm actually looking at, wasn't it Paul? I think Paul, I was looking at Paul, the guy behind the camera, Paul Dubridge. I'm pretty sure I was just staring at him the whole time, which was tense enough.
So episode 7 was a fun one because we meet back up with Nicole at the farm. It was one of the problems we sort of faced this year, actually, was just from a practicality point of view, it worked out quite well in the previous season that we split up the characters, because first of all it meant visually you were getting something a bit different every time with each new episode, but also practically it's much easier because you're only having to work around the schedule of 2 or 3 people, whereas one of our problems this year was that almost everyone was in every episode. And again, just for variety, we were like, it'd be nice to split these people up, and then also we were faced with situations like Kessie, who plays Stephen's sister Katie, was actually going to go away travelling, so wasn't going to be around for a large block of the filming. So we thought, okay, it makes sense that we get her safely back to the farm, and then that's a safe space that she can remain whilst also not being around without people knowing. But obviously, if we're going to leave her at the farm, realistically, he's not going to leave her there on her own. Somebody's got to stay behind. So I thought, okay, that would make sense for that to be Kate. But then we thought, well, but how does she get back involved in the action? We had things we wanted to do. So we wanted the brief encounter with the sort of government agents in the previous season to, catch up with her and for her to meet those people again. But we weren't quite sure initially how we were going to do that. And then we came up with the idea of her having been tracked, from sort of CCTV at the warehouse and that kind of stuff. I like the opening of this episode because we just start with this guy running across the field and you don't know who he is, you don't know what his story is, and then obviously he's telling Nicole that he's somebody who's been injured and his friend's in trouble, and then of course it turns out to be a bad guy, and you realise that Ollie, who plays Cole, is there as well. And actually we'd originally planned for his character Shepard to be in episode 4 at the mortuary with Gilroy, but then actually from a scheduling point of view it didn't work out, but actually we thought that's quite good because now we're in Nicole's shoes. We don't know who this guy is and we don't know if what he's saying is the truth.
Yeah, actually added to the mystery because we are in the audience's shoes, and it also is a little bit echoes a bit of episode 2 where we start off with Victor's character and the audience are like, who's this person? We don't know who this, what they're doing, what's their involvement in the show. And I think 7 echoes that quite nicely because at the beginning of every other episode we see people that we're familiar with and we know where we are, and it's just a little bit of let's just throw a curveball into the mix and just see what how that plays.
It was an interesting one practically because it was probably the most bitty of all of them. So
Yeah.
usually with Horizon, you're in one location for one day and you shoot a whole episode. Whereas with this, the farmhouse pre-title when Nicole was taken is one day. Then we were in the cells, which was another day for the interrogation when she meets the new character of Tracy. And then there's the stuff upstairs above the cells where Simon Pengeli as Shepard is meeting the rest of the mercenaries. Tim's watching them. And obviously all of that was on kind of different days. So it was it was kind of a bit scattered, the filming of that one.
Yeah, it was a little bit different to season 1 where you had one episode, one location, we shot it in a day. And I think 7, for the majority of the time we did that with season 2, but 7 was especially the one where it was starting to break and kind of split up.
I think 7 and 8 probably underwent the most changes of all the scripts because for a while we didn't know Jason Allen, who played Sanders in season 1, we didn't know if he was going to be able to come back or not. So originally there was a draft where he was there as well and they both stayed behind at the farm and they both get taken. And in fact at one point Sanders was going to be shot in front of Nicole at the end of episode 7. There was a version of episode 8 where both of them were being interrogated, and then he dies at the end of that, and he sort of sacrificed himself to save her. And then we realised we weren't going to get him, but then also we realised that if we had Nicole taken at the end of episode 7, then we only had episode 8 to do all of the interrogation, the escape, the fights, and we realised the episode's going to be too long. So what's an economic way to have her go at the beginning so that we've got 7 and 8 to kind of explore all of that?
I think that's one of the fun things about writing the show has been we have an idea about where you want to go with it, and that's where we're aiming for. But then whether it's cast availability, with our actors, some of them not coming back, or with the case of Kessie travelling and stuff like that, we have to adapt to that, but also it has to work narratively, it has to work from a production standpoint, it has to work, or all of those variables that have to come together, and we can't lose or we can't drop, juggling those balls, we can't drop one because the integrity of the show is gonna take a dive. So it's just juggling that, and the fact that we had an idea where we want to go from the beginning, but it was evolving. It was almost like we were putting a couple of paving slabs in front of us as we were walking each time, and we roughly know the direction we want to go in, but we're only going one step at a time and going, well, actually we're going to have to throw that out now and go in this direction, which is kind of the overall direction that we want to go in, but it's actually taking a different route. And I think that's part of the challenge and the fun of trying to make sure that all kind of comes together.
Yeah, and it was nice actually to do a throwaway line in this, which sort of implies the government have separately caught up with Sanders, which we haven't seen, and that maybe he even died off screen. I thought that was quite impactful, and that's quite hopefully a powerful moment for Nicole because that's someone she really bonded with. And then, of course, the other big element of this episode was meeting Tracy, played by Alexandra Hensler. And she's someone that we'd wanted to work with for a while. She'd been a big sort of fan and supporter of the first series. And, she's really good friends with Kate Davies, who plays Nicole. And so she was someone we wanted to bring in. And unfortunately, there was a lot of new people that we wanted to bring into the season that we just didn't have the time for. But thankfully, we were able to kind of come up with this idea, to include her. And I thought it was quite a nice chance to do a twist as well. So maybe she's not quite who you first think.
Should have taken the easy way out.